Thanks for joining me on our next monthly update. And wow, what a month September was. It certainly lived up to its history of being, typically the worst month of the stock market for the year.
That's right. Who would have thought that about September, eh? Okay, we go back to school, people start work again, they go and collect all their fruit from their gardens or something. But it's always a difficult month for the stock markets. Is it a disaster? Is it something to be really worried about? I don't think so. But let's face it, it tells us that the investment markets are not easy at the moment. There are things happening in the world. We're fortunately recovering still from the COVID-19 challenge. You know, as you can see in terms of job opportunities out there, they're getting stronger and better. The economy is still doing okay. But there are challenges because, unfortunately, it's difficult to get access to certain things, be it workers, be it petrol, be it gas prices going up because of some issues in the oil and related markets. It's not easy out there, and we all can see that. We all understand that. But unfortunately, for stock markets, for bond markets, for everybody, it's a little bit of a concern. So a little bit of volatility in September. But I still would say that it's been a good year overall. 2021 has been a good year for returns for most investors in most markets, and certainly for UK markets. So good news in that sense.
Great stuff. One thing that we're all being introduced to at the moment, Chris, is stagflation. Just quickly tell us, what is it?
Stagflation is a word I came across too many years ago. It was actually, the first time it came out was in 1965. I wasn't alive then, but I read that in the books. What it means is a combination of not just rising inflation, but also the fact that the economy is starting to actually not just fall, but actually decline. So you have stagnation and you have inflation, and hence you put the two things together, it becomes stagflation. Now, it was very popular in the 1970s. So some older listeners will remember that very well, unfortunately, in terms of inflation and uncertainty. Younger listeners will undoubtedly be wondering, what is this stagflation problem? Is it reality or not? My personal feel is that it's probably not a big concern. It's certainly become much more of an issue people have looked at and thought about in recent weeks. But I would still say the biggest challenge out there is just making sure that we can still create jobs and the UK economy can still moving forwards. Let's face it, Japan over the last 30 years has been, to me, a bigger insight for the future, for the US, for the UK, for Europe, than anything about stagflation or anything. So, you know, we shall see. But yeah, fascinating to have that blast from the past. I remember it from my economics A-levels, the concept of stagflation and everything else. It's very popular in the 70s and a little bit of the early 80s.
It's amazing how these old terms get recycled in the future, eh? So looking ahead then, Chris, we've had a really volatile September, and that's the best word, isn't it? It's been very volatile, very turbulent. Going into October now, looking into November, believe it or not, Christmas is round the corner. Boris has compared the economy to this big de-icing of the world economy, and there's moans and there's cracks and there's all sorts going on. Do we see it getting worse, or do we see maybe a sideways movement?
I would say probably a sideways movement, because a lot is factored in already. Take your gas price, or take oil costs or related, or even uncertainty about whether you're going to be able to get your turkeys for Christmas or whatever else you might have planned for your Christmas day or something. Reality is a lot is already factored into those concerns. And whilst there are some possibilities it could get a little bit worse, I think reality is more that changes are already happening. We already see certain areas that have been problems, be it your capability to get petrol for your car or something, becoming a little bit less of a concern, be it because of the government's help has said they would like some different workers in there, or be it because people respond to changes and higher prices and different impacts like that. So I would say that the challenges are probably not going to get much worse. It's just that we've got a slightly different world than what we've been used to for many, many years. And obviously we've had those challenges already. COVID-19 was a big uncertainty, and let's face it, still is to some extent. You know, but for many years we've been spoiled because there's been growth, there's been an ability to get lots of cheap prices from things from all around the world. It seems to be in easy times, and it's becoming a bit more normal, I would say. Perhaps this is one advantage of being a few years old, I guess. I've seen some challenging periods when we've had a little bit of inflation or a little bit of uncertainty, or sometimes it's not easy to get access to your petrol or whatever occasionally. But you work through these things, and certainly that's what I would expect. There's still opportunities to build this economy, to create jobs, to get better. And whilst I think things like inflation is still going to remain with us, we will ultimately see the Bank of England change their policy. Fortunately, the average UK company, and hence the average UK investment, and the same for Europe and the same for other parts of the world, they're still seeing some opportunities. Let's face it, we're ending this year still better than we started this year. And that's the main thing to think about. So as an investor, as somebody thinking about the financial markets, stay positive, stay optimistic, and it's going to be okay, would still be my view.
Great stuff. Thanks for the half full optimism at the end there, Chris. Great catch up as always, and look forward to speaking again in November. See you again.
See you then.